So today is the 17th of May 2023 and Michael Gove is due to announce the Rental Reform Act, which is about to change the landscape for the private rental sector completely. And one of the biggest announcements that he's making is that he's going to get rid of Section 21, which is part of the tenancy agreement that we've all been using for the last 30 years, which allows landlords to ask, once the period of rental is over, to ask for their property back. And this is going to be phased out. So the replacement of it now is going to be free fall. So as landlords within the PRS, the main reasons why we'll be allowed to get our property back are really, one is if you can prove, and I'm sure that's not going to be as easy as we think, antisocial behavior, and there will be a process to get people out of those properties. Second, if you're either looking to sell the property or one of your family is going to be looking to move into it. And thirdly, if you are if you are due to move into it or sell. So that's the three. So basically, antisocial behavior, looking to sell, or one of your close family is looking for a place to live and you want to move them in that private resident or PRS property. Now, the challenge with that is it's going to be chaos, because already right now you try to get an eviction done in the UK in May 2023, you're looking at about 7 to 9 months worth of delay, because there's not enough judges. The courts are completely overrun with things. Nothing seems to work in this country at the moment under this Tory government. So I think this is going to be even more chaotic, because what will happen now, you will potentially be buying properties, and quite frankly, I'm right now in the process of doing the same thing now, buying a property with an existing tenant in there. And now, because of this law, this is going to deter me from doing that, because I'm just thinking, well, if I inherit a tenant that I'm not too pleased with, and there's issues with that tenant, there's no way of me being able to replace a tenant, I guess, for a tenant of our caliber that we look for. So I think that's really kind of have an impact on kind of bigger landlords looking to expand their portfolio, let alone that if you are a single-handed landlord, you've got one property, and all of a sudden all of these barrage of regulation coming your way. For example, I'll give you an example. If you buy a property today with an existing tenant in there, by inference, you inherit what the past landlord has done or hasn't done. So for example, there's another property we're looking at buying at the moment, and we're negotiating on having empty, vacant access, because the challenge is we don't know, the person's passed away, we don't know whether all of the regulatory documents were served. My guess is probably not, because that person's been there or has owned it for about 30 years. Oh boy, died. But if we buy it and they haven't served a gas cert every time they was done, and the ICR wasn't done, the tenancy agreement wasn't signed properly, or whatever other reason, the deposit wasn't protected, all of a sudden you could be buying something, or we could be buying something that we can't get access to or require possession of, because all of these failures have happened. And they've only been failures because the law changed, and even that the tenant has been there for a while, all of a sudden the landlord is impacted by those law changes. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Somebody quoted somewhere, and I don't know how true that is, but there's around 200 pieces of legislation that a typical landlord in the UK has to face with now. So quite frankly, lots and lots of publications coming out today saying landlords are exiting, landlords are exiting. I think there is a kind of, there is definitely a sense of lower number of private rental residents up for rent. That's what's pushing up the prices for rentals. It's not rocket science. You take out the demand, you take out the supply, and the demand is increasing because more people are coming in. From a net migration perspective, you push up the price, and we've been seeing this over and over again this year. That's why rent has rocketed. Now I think this is going to have another secondary inflationary impact on rental prices, because if you reduce your stock over the last 5 years by 500,000, so there was 2.5 million properties up for rent in the last 5 years, since 2017, since George Osborne introduced his tax called, what everybody calls it, Section 24, which is basically doesn't allow you to deduct all of your mortgage if you are a private landlord. Since that 2017, 500,000 people, or properties have been taken off the rental market, but the demand is still increasing. Now, this secondary effect, I think people will definitely be thinking about other investments rather than properties right now, because the challenges and the regulations, the burden that's coming through, let alone that the interest rate is almost 6%. Prices have not really collapsed, to be fair. So all of this is going to have a secondary inflationary pressure on the rent, because again, you'll have reduction, even more reduction in supply, and the demand is growing, because we still need, post-Brexit, we are taking on almost 500,000 people in this country from the Commonwealth countries, because we need people to work, whether it's in the healthcare system or picking up fruit and vegetables. So I think there's very interesting, concerning, quite uncertain, I guess is probably the word here. You know, I'm not a doomster. I think things will turn out to be fine, but there might be a period of a few years before that gets to that point. My big concern is how do you get possession of properties where you're having problems with the tenants when you've just bought them. And I think that's going to be a challenge for us as well as an investor, buying multiple units all the time. How do we get around that? So let's see how it all pans out. Be interesting to see what you think and your comments.